We are live. Thank you, Derek. And we have another minute. And let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Who am I missing here? Barry, Alan, and Victoria. And I'll just make a note that, and I'll mention it again later, Alan and Victoria will likely be unable to join us today. I'm looking for, yeah, Barry. Okay, on that note, it is 3 p.m. So we'll call the meeting. Welcome, June 2nd, Parks Advisory Committee meeting. And just a note, and I'll just repeat this for the record. Alan and Victoria Ye will be unable to join us today. And it looks like Barry is not here right now, but maybe he'll join us later. But at this time, we do have quorum, so we can continue. And before we begin, we'll have a moment of reflection as we set our intention to preview and discuss today's agenda. All right, deep breath, everyone. We got this. Okay, so welcome. Also, anything to declare that might be a conflict of interest, pecuniary? I see no hands, no nods, none. Okay, next up. We do have one presentation today, and that is with Ian Furlong of Longfield Farms to speak with us about the St. Vincent Park Pump House project. And he is, I'm sure, being set up for the presentation. Welcome, Ian. Hello. Oh, you're still on mute?
Yes, there. Is that working now?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to say hi to everybody, and I'm going.
Oh, we just lost you. Derek?
Yeah, he's left the meeting. I'm going to keep an eye out for him to see if he comes back.
So what happens in this case? Should we wait like 2 minutes kind of thing?
Yeah, I'd say so. Ian might have had some connection issues even because it looks like he was out in the field. So
okay.
Hopefully we can get him back soon.
That's okay.
Rod also knows Ian pretty well. So, oh, there we are.
Okay. And you're live and we can hear you, I think. Oh, it's still connecting to audio. I think you're on, Ian.
Okay.
Hi.
Hello. First of all, I'd like to apologize. Just things didn't go the way they were this afternoon, so I'm on my cell phone in the field. So
that's
in
okay.
all due respect, I thought a dirty Ian would be better than a no Ian. So please, so I don't mean to mean anybody disrespect, but I'm here.
All right. Welcome.
Okay. So you would like me to present why we are proposing this pump house down at the park?
I don't know. Rod?
So Ian, I think you've submitted a drawing for us of the proposed pump house for St. Vincent Park, and I think it'd be a good time for you just to let the committee know about the orchard and the size of the orchard and what you require the pump house for and your plans overall.
Okay, thanks, Rod. So yeah, I'm Ian Furlong. I'm part of the orchard. I am an investor and an owner in the orchard. So that orchard that we are building on the west side of Meaford is going to contain 400 acres. The orchard. To give you the size and scope of the project, there'll be approximately 1 million trees, And with this new planning system, we are requiring quite a bit of water. Now, the water is just not for the irrigation. When we're looking at the size and scope of this project and the water facility, and that is the pump house that I am looking for permission to put the pump house down on your park, is that we're doing a frost protection program. So with that frost protection, we're going to irrigate when it gets down below freezing to protect our trees. So that is where the big volume of water is coming from. The scope and what it does for Meaford and the relevance to Meaford is that we are going to be employing about 200 seasonal workers. But them seasonal workers, the reason why we have seasonal workers is because we do not have any local people applying for this. So there is employment. There is also management jobs. I'd call high-end jobs coming into effect. We're going to need managers, operations people, health and safety, accommodations. So the scope of this project, for me anyway, is quite substantial. Rod, is there anything else you would like to touch on? Because sorry, go ahead, Rod.
No, I don't think so, Ian. I think the entire scope of the project here for Ian is he's dug a couple of fairly large ponds that are currently in the orchard that they're using up now, and it's not providing enough water for the high density apple trees that they're putting in. So he's needing a surplus of water and abundance of water. So this is the proposed pump house that's actually going to be located possibly on the St. Vincent Park property. As part of the design of the pump house, he's actually providing us with public washrooms at the same time, and and in the first draft of the pump house, there was actually an observation deck and lookout, and I believe that was all part of the package. So I think what Ian's doing here is just he wants to bring the committee up to speed, and so everyone understands the size of this project and the importance to Furlong Farms and the the overall project to the municipality.
Okay, that's good to know, and thanks for giving it some context as well, Rod. Thank you, Ian. So at this point, if we have any questions, do we wait until we're actually talking about it at the next items for consideration, or can we chat about it now?
My suggestion to the chair, Marissa, would be if you have specific questions that we think Ian can probably answer, or maybe be available to answer, let's just do it now so that then Ian can get back out in the field and get working, instead of making him try and stay on a cell phone for the next hour as we get to that agenda item. So
okay. Yes, Angela. Oh, you're on mute. Oh,
yeah, there. Sorry. Ian, I have a couple of questions for you. So is this the same pump house that was proposed to be at the very end of 7th Side Road at that public water access initially?
Yes, it was. And initially the footprint of the pump house itself was quite smaller, but then we got some engineers involved over the last year. And this is the design and the footprint in which they are requiring to meet our needs. So with that bigger footprint, it would not be suitable to be put at the end of 22. Okay.
And so how will the water get from St. Vincent up to the orchard? Will you have to rip up Lakeshore Road?
Yes.
Okay. Because there's a lot of people that live here. I live on Lakeshore Road, so I'm a little concerned about the construction happening. And is there any risk that it could affect wells in the area?
No, and this is the reason why we want lake water is that then we will not be using any groundwater in the orchard. So it's on an environmentally and a well protection act is that we do not want to be using groundwater in the orchard. We want to get it from the bay, ma'am.
So in order to get the water from Lakeshore, from St. Vincent Park up to the farm, you have to rip up the road. Would it be going directly underneath the road, or would it be encroaching on properties?
No, it'll be all on road allowance. It's going to go on the side of the road.
Where the ditches currently are.
That is correct, and that is on the primary design of this, because we haven't been with the municipality and to work out the fine details on how they actually would like to go about doing this. But our proposal is with the engineers and the studies we've done is that what they are proposing.
And would that be on the water side or the opposite side of the road?
That I can't answer you until we get with the roads and the municipality to see what you guys want to do and how it would least impact the residents.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that sounds good. I have a question. In the with the design with the observation deck. So first, thanks that you're providing the washrooms and an observation deck. Just curious if it's is there maybe I didn't see it in the plans. Is there accessibility is what I'm concerned about. Is there an elevator to go up to the observation deck or?
Okay, so that drawing that we had submitted was a preliminary design and to give a scale and scope of the building. As far as accessibility, you know, and Rod Willis has brought this to our attention too. With it being in a hill, we are looking at setting it back into the hill so they would have access from the top.
Okay.
And one thing I want to stress here, and this isn't to butter anybody up, but as far as that, whatever you guys want in that building, we are more than willing to work with you to make it happen. Okay, so we are open for ideas. It's what you want, what the public wants. How do we minimize the impact and get the most value out of it for us and as well as the municipality. So when you're looking at the fine details of this building, these aren't set in stone. We need our square footage for our pumps. But other than that, that building is as flexible as you want to make it.
Wow. Okay. We have witnesses here.
And I'm not, and I know what I am asking for here from the municipality and from the residents down on Lakeshore to be putting this building here. And I am fully aware of their concerns because nobody knows what it's going to look like, how much noise. In saying that, we're not here to ram anything down somebody's throat. We wanna work with you. We're gonna soundproof it, you know, because in order for me, and I'm not saying that just because I'm a nice guy, but in order to make this happen, that's what we're gonna have to do to make it happen.
Appreciate it, Ian. We do have a couple more questions here. I saw Harley and Angela.
Thanks, Marissa. If Angela has a follow-up from one of her earlier questions, is most welcome to go ahead.
My question is actually more about in regards to timeline and whether this would be fitting in with the redevelopment of St. Vincent Park, or if this would be happening before the new redevelopments for St. Vincent Park.
What is the timeline on doing the park?
I believe there isn't one yet. I don't think it's in the budget yet. So Darcy would know more, but my understanding is that redesign of St. Vincent Park is something that might happen in the next 3 to 10 years kind of thing. So I was just curious what your timeline looked like.
Okay, our timeline, we are hoping, and to start construction on this pipeline next spring, next summer.
Okay.
But in saying that, we have some hurdles to overcome as well. So, we have to get approval from the municipality on the building and the building site before we can go through and finish our water taking permit. So, I'm optimistic that it's going to be next summer, but it very well, the way things are going, it could be the summer of 2023.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, if I could, I think like Ian's done a pretty good job of answering some of the questions that are kind of, more up in the air. The reality is that as Ian mentioned, and as you had asked, Angela, this was originally planned at the end of the road allowance, but because of the size and scope of it, it just won't fit. So this was an alternative that Furlong Farms came to the municipality with. It's a fairly substantially sized building, for the size of the park, but if there's a way to partner on this, then, maybe it's a win-win, to Ian's point about us being able to use some of the space kind of as flexibly as we want to, and it gets washrooms there. This might actually help expedite some of the development of the park, because really having appropriate washrooms at that location makes a big difference to try and get other amenities put there, because without washrooms, it's kind of hard to do some of the other development side of things. But and as far as municipal approvals and Gray Shovel and water permits and everything, there's no point in trying to get Ian and his group to move forward with any of that if the reality was the community, if this was a hard no, and a full stop right from the start, then there was no point in putting in, a whole bunch of time and effort to try and get approvals if everybody else didn't think that this was a good idea.
Okay. Great. Thanks, Darcy. Oh, yes, Angela, follow up?
Sorry, did Harley have a question first, I believe?
Thank you.
Oh, okay, I do have a couple. Thanks, Ian, for joining us. I know you're busy. I've been up Highway 26 the last couple of days. I see a lot of little apple trees in there, and that's good to see. This building is roughly about 60 feet long. Would that be, or 20 meters? Whatever.
Yes.
Now, the washrooms, the public washrooms, originally for the park, the design was certainly to have an accessible washroom, but it was basically a 3-season washroom going into a septic bed. With your proposal, could those washrooms be open year round? That's the first question. And I guess the second question is, will you have any wastewater running out into the septic area from the pump house?
Harley, to answer both of them questions, we will not have any wastewater at all. It's just going to be a pumping. That's where our high pressure pumps are going to be in the building. So it's just going to take the lake water and then pump it up the hill. I can't stress this enough when you're looking at this project that I am open to any suggestions that you people have with the parks and the municipality to make this project fit for what you want. Is if you want all season bathrooms in it, there's to a point, don't think we're going to build the Taj Mahal or anything, but we are open to suggestions to make this work and to make the footprint of the building work for both you and the residents of Meaford. So when you guys are looking at this project, I am open to all ideas, and I don't see any hurdles to grant any of them wishes.
Okay. Thank you, Ian. Rod, yes.
Just it's through the chair, Marissa. I believe, obviously I'm fairly close with Ian, but I believe this was more of a 3-season facility, Councillor Greenfield, as Ian isn't going to need the water usually during the winter months at all. But I believe the full intention was it was going to be more of a 3-season facility.
Angela. Thank you, Rod.
I'm just taking advantage of having Ian here. But what are those giant sticks that come out of the ground? Is that part of an irrigation system? Are they to hold up the trees? We've been seeing these things being erected and we can't figure out what they are.
Oh, currently there. Okay.
Yeah. There's
Yeah,
there's a whole bunch of new ones and I can't figure out what they are.
No, so what that we are putting the orchard on cement posts. So them cement posts are going to hold the trellis, so the wires and the trees up, but they're that tall because we're going to cover it with hail netting. So,
Okay.
so when you see like the trees are only 8 feet tall, but the height of the posts are so that we're going to see hail netting, and you should see hail netting go up on 26 probably in the next month.
Okay, I know a lot of people have been curious as to how that functions. So thank you for explaining that.
Could I have a moment just to address everybody here too, please?
Yes, of course.
Okay, I was a little flustered when I got started on this call, so I guess there's something else that I do want to bring to the attention of the municipality, is that chunk of land that we have, and there's about 800 acres of it that is its own soil class, and it's a pretty special soil type, and Meaford's got the climate, the water, and everything. And with this irrigation, so in order, when we're looking down the road, this irrigation facility is not just going to be for us, but it's going to feed down the road, that it is built to capacity to feed that whole area. So when we're looking at what's going to happen within the municipality, what's going to happen within agriculture, what's going to happen down the road, this is a 50 to a 70 year project. And whether it's small vegetable gardens, whether it's, whatever's going to happen in the future on that prime agriculture A1 land up there, is that it's going to need water. And that is the future, I think, for agriculture on the west side of Meaford. So this water is not just thinking our orchard and what we're doing today. This is going to supply agriculture on the west side of Meaford for a very, very long time. And I apologize for the way I started this meeting, a little flustered, but please feel free, if anybody's got questions or concerns, to give me a call or look me up, and I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you so much, Ian. Actually, just one more question. So your orchard, is this going to be, maybe I missed something, is this a commercial orchard then?
Yes, it is.
And what is it, like a cidery or?
No, we are growing fresh apples. That's our main focus is to grow quality fresh apples.
Beautiful. Great. A variety?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay. Now I'm getting hungry. All right. Any other questions for Ian? Okay. Well, thank you so much, Ian. You've given us lots to ponder, and we thank you for your generosity in being willing and flexible to design it as per community needs. And we will definitely take that into consideration. So thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Bye now. And that brings us to our next item for consideration, which is the St. Vincent Park Pump House and Public Washrooms concept. Okay. Let me just bring that up.
All right, Marissa, to just interject, I
Oh.
believe we missed the approval of the
Oh,
minutes.
sorry.
Oh, bye.
Yeah, I'm jumping ahead because I wanted to talk about it. So has everyone had a chance to review the minutes? And if we have any mover to approve, Angela, seconder, Anna Lee. And any discussion, any points? And approve, right? All hands? Yes, all hands. Great, thank you. Next, items for consideration. St. Vincent Park Pump House and Public Washrooms concept. So this is talking about the St. Vincent Park Master Plan that Darcy has shared with us, as well as the 3D images and schematic plans provided by Longfield Farms, of which Ian has just taken the time to speak to us about. Any questions, comments, reviewing the recommendation, which I'll just read for everyone's benefit. Staff recommends that council adopt the design concept as a guiding document for future development of the site. Further to this, the costing estimates should be included in the DCBS. So Darcy can talk more about that to ensure maximum funding is available. So Darcy, would you like to give a little premise and summary?
Sure, thanks, Marissa. So this report went to council and the plan was actually approved. So this was something that kind of was requested at the last meeting anyways, just to understand what the intent was for the St. Vincent Park property, because this was done probably just months actually before the PAC was established. So this has already been approved by council as a guiding document going forward. The DCBS means the Development Charges Background Study. So the expectation is, as we're going through the Development Charges update this year, that projects that are contained within this master plan are included in that background study for potential development funding moving forward. So we'll certainly do that. I mean, one of the ways to maximize the funding of the project is to look for third-party funding as well, like outside of development charges and the taxpayer. And that's, I guess, what this proposal would do from Furlong Farms, is kind of move this forward. But I think the intention of providing all these documents together for the Parks Advisory Committee is to take a look at the overall schematic design that was included within the parks planning document within that report, to kind of show what the overall plan was, kind of where things are going to be set out, what the different amenities were with regards to that park property. And then certainly, as Ian mentioned, the scope of the pump house is fairly substantial based on the water needs of that area. So what that means is that, we would probably have to give up some of the green space in order to accommodate the size of that building versus a much smaller public washroom facility only. But this is a way to get that washroom and that public space there without actually having to cost the taxpayer anything. So really what we're looking for today is for you guys just to have a general discussion about it and to kind of provide a recommendation to council that you're either in favor of furthering the discussion with Furlong Farms about partnering for a facility that would be jointly shared between us and them for different purposes, of course, or whether the Parks Advisory Committee feels as though this isn't a wise idea and that we shouldn't be entering into some kind of a partnership.
Okay. Yes, Angela. Thanks, Darcy.
I have two questions for Darcy. So I'm just looking at the concept image and the concept budget provided on pages 47 and 48. So is that the plan that has been approved?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and I'm looking at the budget and it looks like there's approximately $130,000 in there for washroom facilities. So that's what would be canceled out essentially by having this pump house put in. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and my last question is with regards to the, because I know I'm going to get asked a lot of questions about this, with regards to the construction of the pump house and primarily the taking up the road in order to put that in. Will there be like a public consultation with the local residents prior to that happening?
I'm certainly sure there would be, because I would assume that there'll have to be some kind of environmental assessment completed on the whole thing. So, part of this as well, we got to recognize that there are only certain things that can be done on this property anyways, because it's also conservation authority regulated, because it's kind of part of a floodplain area. So That's why specifically even in the concept plan, the washroom was up, that #1 area is where the washroom is, because it's tucked furthest away from the whole water area and up close to the road, because that's probably the most realistic place that we can get approval to put a facility because of its regulated area. So, but yeah, I mean, as far as having to put a pipe in, you know, the length that the Furlong Farms wants, you know, to service all that, they're going to have to go through a complete process, and you know, there'll be public input from the council side of things with regards to the routing and the location of that trunk pipe and everything else. But that's not something really, I understand that there's an impact that the PAC should, you know, just be made aware of, but that's really a council thing that'll have to be dealt with, and also dealt with through Ministry of Environment and everything else.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
I have a question, Darcy. Looking at the map for the concept design, where would the pump house be?
It's still pretty much in the same area as #1
Okay.
right now, which is where the washroom is. It's just, you know, the washrooms, like, think of these, the plan for these washrooms, you know, something even slightly smaller than the McCarroll Park washrooms.
Okay.
Right. And then versus the requirements of the pump house, for Ian's purposes, you know, you're talking about a much larger facility. So it'd still be within the same area. It's just about the size and scope of the facility. And you know, I think it was either Ian or Rod had already brought up, this was an original concept, and we've already gone back to Furlong, their engineer, who dealt with this, to say, you know, this is a great starting point, but it wouldn't completely work for us, because although the upper level looks really cool, it's not accessible, and we're all about making sure that the facilities are fully accessible. So how could we make sure that accessibility is still met with this? So that's something that they would be dealing with through a redesign, if the Parks Advisory Committee is willing to move forward with this idea.
And I'm just curious, has the municipality entered into a similar arrangement where it's with a commercial?
Meaford never has, but both Rob, who's our CAO, and myself have experience with this prior employment with Town of the Blue Mountains, where we actually entered into, you know, we're thinking a very similar agreement with Furlong Farms that we entered into with the developers at Lower Bay. There is a washroom facility down at the Lower Bay waterfront, that beach area, that was put in as a shared facility, both as a pump house for the golf course and also as public washroom. So it's really, really similar to what we've done in the past.
Okay, so I guess an arrangement, should this come to fruition, where maintenance and everything is, expenses, costs will all be, you know, set out, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Angela, and then Harley.
Just to clarify on that, so once the facility has been built, it would then be owned by the municipality, and municipality would be responsible for the maintenance moving forward. Is that correct?
No, the facility itself would most likely still, we would have to have some kind of an easement and agreement with Furlong Farms, where they would still be the owner. We would maintain the washroom facility size or any common area spaces that were kind of public spaces, and the rest of it would be up to you know, Furlong Farms and their partners to have to deal with, because of course we don't want to be responsible for the wet well, the pump house area, so on and so forth, which is really the, you know, the major components of this build.
Okay. And then Harley, and then Steve.
Thanks, Marissa. Again, back a few years ago, when council members were actually able to go to conferences in person, the idea of public-private partnerships was often mentioned, and the advantages that could lead to. So this is something new for our municipality, but it's certainly not new throughout the province. And I just want to mention that with Ian and the Orchard people coming forward, potentially helping us out with the washroom situation. This is kind of the second win we've had on that property because back, I would say in the 1990s, that property, which was at that time 3 shorefront lots, were donated to St. Vincent Township. If you looked at those 3 lots in today's world, it'd be an expensive piece of property.
Interesting. Thanks for that history and perspective. And Steve?
Thank you, Marissa. And Rod, I know you're not the planner, Darcy, you're not the planner, but is it possible you could move the pump house further to the north? How far from the property line do we have to be? And having said that, we would have to move the laneway. Is that in the thought process?
It's a great question, but I think, ultimately it is kind of a planning exercise. It's also an engineering exercise. And, to Ian's point, everything's got to be, soundproofed as well. So there's going to have to be some kind of limitations that we have to stay away from the property lines to make sure that it's far enough away from the neighbor, because the neighbor's house isn't that far off the property line either. They're not huge lots down there. So, I think we would try and make sure, to maximize the remaining green space, we would certainly try and tuck it as close to the side lot line as possible, but we'd have to recognize whatever the engineers and the planners actually do say is required.
Yes, Rod.
I would like to see that sort of plan before we go any further. And here's the reason why. Now, I was part of council that approved the original pump house. I think it's a hell of an idea. And Ian, your farm up there is just beautiful. It's something to really have a look at. It's unbelievable. But you got to remember, at the last meeting, we took revenue away from the Parks and Rec department. We also said that Toboggan Hill should maybe go ahead ASAP. And without this proposal, I doubt St. Vincent Park will go ahead for many, many years. So I do like the proposal. It could alleviate much of the expense, but you can't do anything without getting a group upset. And if you took that much room up in the park with the pump house, you're going to have a lot of resistance. So I'm just trying to alleviate some of that by tucking it as far to the north as I can. Of course, Ian is going to have to redo the entranceway into it, so the entrance costs are going to have to come off the municipality also. So I'd really like to have a look at how far we can tuck it north, and then a new drawing with a new building on it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Good points. Rod.
Thank you, Marissa. And just to Steve's point, we did discuss, obviously the actual size of the building. When Ian first brought the proposal to us, we understood that it was a large building, and that was one of our concerns right off the bat. So as for putting the building to the far north of the property, agree. We pretty well have to keep it to that end of the property just for the complete accessibility down into the park. Just with the natural falls of the land, we need that much room to be able to achieve accessibility for people to enter. So,
Like using the natural landscape, right? Okay. And yeah, actually, that is my concern too, Steve, with all the other proposals that we had previously approved. So in regards to the pump house, was there anything else, any comments regarding the master plan itself? Because even if we do move it, that means some of the amenities might have to be moved as well. So any comments with that? And I just wanted to, sorry, who's there?
Yeah, sorry, Marissa. I guess one thing I can say is that we had Ian's engineer provide their schematic design information to the consultant who did the master plan to do an overlay in that north corner. And I mean, it's a big building. There's no doubt about it, especially compared to what was originally planned just as a small washroom facility. But luckily, it really doesn't take up a whole lot of the, it doesn't affect the green space significantly because, again, that the building is still staying tucked up in that north corner as much as possible. But certainly, I mean, I think if the Parks Advisory Committee is leaning towards this being a good idea, I think, it can even be a two-part recommendation to council where number one, the Parks Advisory Committee kind of likes the concept of a public-private partnership to allow a washroom location there, but that B, that any design incorporates making sure that the facility is as close to the north property line as possible to mitigate any impact on green space. And then from there, that gives some direction to Ian's group to go back and do some redesign, and then also do the redesign with regards to the accessibility in mind that we've already made note of to them. And then they could bring something forward to council at that stage of the game to see if council and the greater public is satisfied with this suggestion.
Okay, Angela.
Just seeing that Ian is still here, I do have a question. If for any reason the pump house wasn't a possibility, how else would you get water to the farm? Is there any other way that you could possibly get water to the farm?
Well, then we would have to buy a residential lot and tear and develop it into our pump house. And these are all avenues that, if the municipality is not in favor of this, or we cannot come up with a common goal here on the design and how to make the pump house work down there, then we'd have to look at other alternatives. Yes.
So have any other alternatives like cisterns or anything like that? Has anything else been explored already? Or is the pump house kind of like the first best option?
No, the pump house did not originally start off as our first option. With the amount of water that we are requiring, we did a water study and the groundwater effects, and yes, we can dig storage ponds, and we have done that as well to eliminate the amount of water we need to have some storage on site. We've looked at many alternatives, and this is the best fit for today.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Question for Rod or Darcy, or really anyone. With this public-private partnership or arrangement, is this something that because Ian has presented and approached municipality, and therefore we are talking about it now, or is this also something that does it ever have to go to an RFP? Hey, I want to provide a pump house for my property or business venture, that kind of thing.
No, these would be dealt with one-off, much like I guess you could say we have public-private partnerships all over the municipality, the exact same thing that Ian's group is looking for, just at a completely different scope and scale. Because we have a bunch of water access lots that have shore wells on them that feed individual residential houses that are on the backside of waterfront developments. So it's the same kind of concept where it's a private well that they maintain on the public property, and they have an easement for it. Just that Ian's plan is of a completely different scope and magnitude. But I mean, P3s happen all the time, but they're usually dealt with on one-offs based on the private person requesting something specific, unless it's the municipality that wants something. I mean, we could go out and, for our perspective, we want a washroom, right? So on that land. So if we were going to go out and request proposals, it would be, a public-private partnership where we have to have a washroom that's available. What would somebody else be willing to do on it.
Okay.
It kind of reminds me almost of the discussion that was had about a year ago with regards to the lease speech, where we were going to try and enter into a public-private partnership with the restaurant developer there, where they were going to provide washroom facilities for the lease beach area as well. But again, it was the developer coming to us. Usually the municipality doesn't go the other way.
Okay. Interesting. Any other questions, comments? So this, we're considering this topic that we're discussing is strictly about the pump house, not in regards to comments about the master plan. Is that right?
That's correct, because the master plan has already been approved by council to be used as a guiding document moving forward.
Oh, I see. Okay. Just a question about the general process of consultation, because I feel like that consultation is different than what we're doing, which is amazing, with the McCarroll Park. Like it has, you know, the engagement plan that Rod had shared with us, and it's all over Facebook, which is great, and the QR code. So did the consultation process change from last year to this year?
Not really. I think, you know, Rod and his team have had to come up with some creative solutions to consult with people because of COVID, because we couldn't get together. But I specifically, I don't know about the rest of anybody else, but I specifically remember Angela being at the public information center that we had for St. Vincent Park, because we used to do these things in person all the time, right? And that's where we went through these design charrettes and had different ideas and everything else. So that we did that for St. Vincent Park. I think there was probably, I don't know, 30 or 40 people that were all in the small hall at the arena at the time when we did this. And then
actually, the report says 20. I was just looking at that.
Was
so
it?
like,
Okay.
it says, I mean, I was there too.
Okay.
But yeah, 20 people, 14 comments, 8 sticky notes. So I just thought, and then all of that was presented to the consultant to present this master plan. Now,
So,
is that guiding document, sorry?
No, go ahead.
Just curious if other people have other thoughts to the amenities in terms of the parks, can they still submit anything? Or is this, oh yes, Rod.
Thank you, Marissa. I think I don't think we need to confuse this for really what it is. You know, in 2020, we approved a master plan, and it was a guiding document on how we could develop this park and provide the services that we do. Obviously, achieve accessibility in all the area. Furlong Farms have brought forward a pump house design that would serve as part of our needs as part of the washroom facility. So personally, I feel that what this committee needs to do is say, yes, they approve, and we would like to investigate a little bit further. The municipality would then work with Furlong Farms to come up with a solution that size and placement and everything else and how it would fit into the master plan, bring it back to this committee. And again, we would be going through public consultation before any construction starts, the same way I explained it in the McCarroll Park.
Okay, that's great. So Steve, does that also address your concern to see the plans after any further discussions and location with the pump house?
Yes, because we at PAC will just recommend yea or nay to council, then it goes to council, and then we can look at other plans. So yeah, I was just putting that out there that there's going to be pushback on this.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other questions, comments? So yes, Annalee.
I'm just going back to Darcy, you had mentioned noise will be a concern here. And so just to kind of build on what Councillor Bartley has suggested he'd like to see, what I would like to see, and probably just to be proactive for the neighbors, if you're going back to look at this, especially that northwest corner of the property, the parkland, I'd like to see how noise can be addressed with landscape buffer. So again, not to push too far to the north, because we'd want to make sure that there's a landscape buffer there. And it looks like there might be some substantial already. I'm not as familiar with this park, but that would be my 2 cents. Just to try and, if PAC does suggest that this is an idea that we think the municipality should pursue, I think it's something that would work in favor for that abutting property owner.
And good points, especially with your insight and background, Annalie. This is a silly question. Why are we only just focusing, looking at the map on the left side? Why not on the right side, on the east side?
Simply because of just the lay of the land.
Okay.
And this makes the most sense from and even based on the design that the consultant did with regards to the master plan. They looked at different locations to put the washrooms on the upper level because that makes it fully accessible and close to parking area as well. And what you see in the map is the preferred location because of just the way the land falls toward the water.
Okay. I mean, it sounds amazing, almost like too good to be true if you can find the right location and everything, the sound is buffered and it meets a lot of the community needs. I'm just trying to poke holes. Anything else? And Barry, I meant to say welcome. Angela. Unless someone wants to propose a motion now. Okay, Angela?
I'd like to propose a motion that we do. I think we should suggest to council to move forward with this project. It sounds like Ian and the farm are really good people. They want to work with the community. They want to make sure that this is something that isn't just in their interest. And I think that their farm is a major piece of agricultural land in the municipality. It's a big part of the economy here. So why wouldn't we want the infrastructure to support that? Also, at some point in time, there is going to be a washroom facility at St. Vincent Park. So why not take advantage now and get that put in a way that doesn't cost taxpayers? And I know it's big now, but it sounds like they're very open to working with locals to come up with a design that makes everybody happy. So I would put forward a motion that we recommend to council to move forward with investigating this further.
Thank you, Angela. Do we have a seconder for this? Tom? Any further discussions on this particular motion to move forward as is with the pump house and further discussions with recommending it to council, and then also we're going to see a revised layout or a plan. So no further comments. Are we ready to vote? So the motion is to move forward with it as planned. Of course, design might be changed with community and council input. Hands for vote, yes. Okay, and that's all hands. Just to confirm, no hands if you oppose. None. Thank you. All right, next item for consideration. Memorial Park Dog Beach. Okay. So this is regarding report COR 2021-27. This is a review of the Memorial Park off-leash dog area. And Rod or Darcy, would you like to provide a little summation?
Sure, I can, through the chair. Thanks, Marissa. So this report was provided to council early April with regards to the off-leash dog area. We had different alternatives that were brought forth by staff for an off-leash area, and then of course changing the bylaw. At that time, council made the determination to defer a decision on this report and to send it to the PAC for discussion first to get your feedback prior to making any decisions. This, of course, came about in short order because of discussions specifically at the Memorial Beach area because of erosion and how there's been a significant reduction in public space. But because we're now at this stage of the game, we knew that it was going to take until June to get to PAC and then have to go back to council. What we've done, just tried to operationalize this decision for this year, where we've actually specifically fenced off and signed a certain area at Memorial Park that, has historically been the dog beach area, but now it's certainly better delineated and defined for kind of it's the dog area. So hopefully it cuts down on the fighting between dog owners and just residents and visitors in the area that don't recognize that it's supposed to be the dog area. So I would assume, for this year at least, we've hopefully remedied part of the problem by delineating that area. But I don't think the water levels are going to recede significantly anytime soon. So this, of course, is a long-term issue that needs to be dealt with, and whether we should still be allocating as much space at Memorial Park for dogs, or whether we need to be looking at an alternative location like the report suggests.
Okay. And thank you for that background. And Rod, yeah, the park looks great. Sawyer has been swimming there a lot, there almost every day. Thank you. So I just, before I say anything, does anyone else, actually, Rod, did you want to say something?
No, I'm okay. I'm just listening. Thanks.
Did anyone, Angela?
I feel like I'm doing a lot of talking today.
Okay, all good points.
You've got my neighborhood and then you've got my industry here. So, so with regards to the Memorial Park Dog Beach, I understand that there is significantly less waterfront and that you've got people coming from out of town to use the beach and they don't necessarily know that there's a dog beach there. So of course you're going to have some butting of heads and some complaints and things. So I really do understand why this has come forward. And I do agree that this is an issue that needs to be addressed. Memorial Park Dog Beach being at Memorial Park, we do know that it is a big selling feature for campers. Campers like to be able to take their dogs there and go for a swim in the evening without having to drive somewhere out of the park. And a lot of locals like to use the park because they like to walk there as well. So, in my opinion, that is the most ideal place to have the dog beach is at Memorial Park. That being said, there's really 4 options. There's one is to just keep it how it is now with the barriers there. That seems to be creating quite a good definition of where the dog beach is. And I think that can go a long way towards eliminating any kind of stresses or problems between dog owners and non-dog owners at the beach. The second option would be to move those barriers and have the dog beach stay there, but reduce the amount of space that is dog beach, which would also be an option. The third would be to move the dog beach to a different location. And then the fourth would be to just completely eliminate having a dog beach in town. I think the fourth option would cause a lot of stress amongst a lot of residents and would probably cause a little bit of an uprising. So I don't think we can completely get rid of the dog beach. And my opinion is that if we were to recommend to move the dog beach to a different location, the best secondary option would be David Johnson, because it is in town. It does have more frontage than a lot of the other beaches. It's flat, it's accessible, it's easy to walk to. One thing that a lot of people are looking for when they want to take their dog for a swim is that they can walk there from their home, because they don't want a wet dog in their car. Nobody wants a wet dog in their car. And also for those campers that come to Memorial Park and they still want to take their dog for a swim, it's only a couple of minutes down the road. It's very easy to find, and it's also very accessible if you're driving there. So I think that would be a good secondary location if that was the recommendation. But I think that this is something that as PAC, perhaps we should spend a little bit more time on actually physically seeing the options. I know Beautiful Joe had come up as well. And I know that there was quite a bit of pushback on that option because of the lack of accessibility and the currents and the fish hooks and all those kinds of safety issues at Beautiful Joe. But perhaps we should see Beautiful Joe and we should see David Johnson and kind of get a better idea of what that would look like before we make a recommendation. But yeah, that's my piece on the dog park.
Thank you, Angela. And I pretty much agree with all the points you've mentioned. And just to clarify for those who are watching and listening, this report, the actual recommendation from staff is staff recommend council enact a bylaw that removes Memorial Park as an off-leash dog area and establishes Beautiful Joe Park as an off-leash dog area. So that is the current proposed report. And also the existing bylaw is being proposed to be repealed and replaced with a new bylaw that I believe, if feel free to interject or correct me if I'm wrong. It also looks like it's removing the off-leash dog area at Memorial Park during the non-operating campground time. So usually there's a sign there that says Memorial Park is open to off-leash dogs from November 1st to April 15th. That sign exists in two places. And the new bylaw that is being proposed does not mention this asset as well. And also noted, I don't see an Appendix A that's referenced in the new bylaw. So if, because Appendix A in the old bylaw shows the two parks where all the off-leash dog areas are. So that's another thing that is concerning, I know, not to just myself being a dog owner, but to other dog owners who use Memorial Park all year round. And, yeah,
thank you. So I think my understanding is, the reason that this was developed the way it was in consultation with the Clerk's Department and Bylaw Services, of course, is that we're going to move the off-leash area to Beautiful Joe Park. So that's why there'd be no off-leash area at Memorial Park.
Okay, so do you actually I know there isn't, I don't see a map of where this is going to be proposed in Beautiful Joe. Can you tell me visually where is all of it or what? Well,
I think there was still going to have to be some consultation that happened with the Beautiful Joe Heritage Society in particular with regards to if it was going to be a specific area or the entirety of it. And
so
also
have they been notified, or is this a collaboration with them?
We haven't had significant discussions with them yet. Again, this was all pushed forward very quickly because there was concern about, waterfront off-leash areas at Memorial Park. Okay. So, like I said, now that we're this far deep into kind of the warm weather and the way it is, we've kind of bought ourselves that, 6 to 8 months worth of time to go through that process.
Okay. Yeah, so
I think I can say though, from staff's perspective, moving forward, even if we had an off-leash area, even if the off-leash area remained at Memorial Park for the waterfront access, we would still recommend removing the off-leash for the rest of the park, even in the off season. My parks and facility staff literally spend days going around and cleaning up dog feces in the spring. It's literally a 3-person job for 2 to 3 days. That's how much poop scoop there has to be done. So it's fairly.
To Beautiful Joe, they'll just clean there. I think that's
well, no. The reason that it has to be done, of course, is because in the spring we have to get the campground ready to actually rent it out to paying campers who, of course, don't want a whole bunch of dog droppings on their campsites, right? Whereas if it's at Beautiful Joe, it's a dog area. If, the dogs do their business in the bush, I guess, and the owner is irresponsible and doesn't pick it up, then it's not quite the same impact as it is at a campground.
Okay. And so we do have time, as you implied, to review this further, because some of the concerns that have been mentioned previously is the fish hooks. And it's not just for dogs that I would be concerned about at Beautiful Joe. It's people and kids playing in the water with their dog that might inadvertently step on a fish hook or trip, or the accessibility. I'm assuming hopefully that will be rectified in some way if this gets moved there. And then the pollution, dogs will be drinking that water. I don't know if that's been looked at or safe for them to lap up.
Sorry, the water in the Big Head is not safe versus the water in Georgian Bay?
No, I don't know. I mean, that's coming from going through farms and runoffs. I have no idea. Like, does that mean we should look into that? Get a testing? Sorry.
I wouldn't think that there's anything wrong with the water quality there, but I mean, I guess I could be proven wrong.
Angela, sorry.
I think I know where you're coming from there. The concern, there was an article in the paper and there was a lot of social media discussion about this previously. And the big concern about water quality is that a lot of fishermen clean their fish and they throw the guts in the water when they're fishing. So that was where the concern about the water quality had initially been brought up.
Or even, I know in some cases, maybe not here because I'm just not aware of it, but runoffs from pesticides, for example, from neighboring farms leaching into the rivers. Is that something that we should be concerned about, or at least give us peace of mind that the water has been tested? I don't know. But again, so that's for us at PAC to decide, to look at other locations. I know staff has done their work as well. So yes, Angela.
I think given what Darcy has stated, that because the barriers are put up and we're already so far into the season, that we probably don't, this is probably something that's not going to take effect until early next spring. I would recommend that we hold off on making a recommendation and we actually physically visit the sites ourselves and gather some more information before making a recommendation about it.
Right. And speak with Beautiful Joe, because I'm sure they would have, I mean, I know that's probably part of the plan there anyway, right, Darcy and Rod?
Through the chair, yeah. I mean, certainly we would talk to them. I already know that I've spoken to a few members of the Beautiful Joe Heritage Society, and they are against the park being a dog park, which in all honesty seems very counterintuitive to me, given that Beautiful Joe is a dog and all. So I think we would have to work through that process with them to understand why their thought process is that they don't want it to be a dog friendly area. But all that said, I think, if the PAC is unable to make a decision now, that's fine. Like at this meeting, it will certainly bring it forward to the next meeting. I don't think we have for forever about this. I mean, in all honesty, I certainly, and when I say I'm talking for all the Memorial Park staff and my parks and facilities crew, we would love to see a decision made on this with the hopes that Memorial Park is no longer a leash-free area in the fall, in the winter, and that decision is made sooner rather than later, so that we don't have to try and operationalize a massive poop and scoop effort next spring again. So if we can be a different location, we would certainly welcome that sooner rather than later. As well, I mean, when it comes to Beautiful Joe, if there's an opportunity to move it down there, but only use a certain portion of the area, and maybe that means that we fence some of it off, kind of like what's at the leash-free dog area right now, which I think gets lost on everybody. The leash-free dog area is literally, half a block away from Memorial Park as it is right now. But if we had to fence an area, we would certainly want to know that sooner rather than later, so that the money for those fencing costs could be included in the budget in September, so that we actually have appropriate funding to do that project.
Okay, good to know for budget in September. Okay. We've got Angela and then Rod.
Yeah, just Questions for Darcy. So, I mean, I do love the idea of having an area that's fenced off, and I understand that, you know, Beautiful Joe definitely fits the theme. But how would the municipality be prepared to make it accessible? Because there's not really any areas when you go into Beautiful Joe Park that are accessible, that would be easy to get. So there would be quite a bit of construction required to make that possible. So is that something that the municipality has already explored, what that would look like?
Sorry, I guess I'm at a loss to understand what you mean by accessible. Once you get into the parking lot at Beautiful Joe, it has no greater degree of slope than anywhere in Memorial Park.
I mean, the water specifically. So there's nowhere where you can openly and widely walk down into the water. I mean, there's pathways down to the water space, but it's very rocky, for example. Like if I was a senior, for example, it'd be very difficult for me to get down to the water in parts of Beautiful Joe.
I guess it's something that we would look at. I mean, I question how accessible Memorial Park is, though, as well, for a senior. That, you know what I mean? It's really, there might be wider areas where there isn't any trees, but it's certainly, you know, there's no easy ramp or, you know, properly designed stairs to get from the grassy area down to the waterfront either, right?
I mean, I personally have a difficult time getting down there. When I go down there myself with my children, I have a difficult time getting down into the area where the water is. So I was just wondering if that's something that the municipality has already put any planning into or any thought into. And then also with the issue of fish hooks in the water, is there any thought as to how the municipality would control that risk as well?
Rod, I don't know if you, I don't believe we can, because the water itself is regulated under Gray Solvent Conservation Authority. So it's not like we can tell fishermen they can't fish. And it's also not like there's some kind of I don't know, like fish hook dredging operation or whatever that can be done to try and remove fish hooks, right? I mean,
yeah, fair enough.
I don't have an answer for that.
Okay, Rod?
No, I think the answer to the fish hook solution is, if the leash-free area was at Beautiful Joe Park, you know, I do understand, you know, the concern with fish hooks, but in the river. But the river moves much more than the bay does. The river is constantly moving. It's going up, it's going down. So it actually usually self-cleans itself daily. So
we've had a number of customers whose dogs have had fish hooks in their fur and their paws and things like that. So I know it is a concern for locals.
Yeah,
Yep.
Rod.
And I can completely appreciate that. You know, and my staff have also picked up glass bottles, you know, around the park, around the waterfront of the park too. So it's unfortunate, this type of thing, but if I can make a quick solution, you know, Darcy's correct. You know, we'd like to see something done, you know, sooner than later. Brady and I actually did some small group tours through Memorial Park when the big discussion was about the Memorial Park Master Plan. I am more than happy. You know, we've laid out some sites. I am more than happy to you know, walk people through, and we can talk about it. As for accessibility to the Big Head River, we do own Moby mats that could easily address the accessibility for access to the river. But again, more than happy to address some of these issues in a small group.
Okay, yeah, maybe that would be a good idea too. And then I know that Beautiful Joe Heritage Society would be happy to provide small group tours for PAC as well. Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm not comfortable recommending something if there's still questions that might be a liability or unsafe until those risks are eliminated or mitigated. Whether it's water quality, fish hooks, etc. Any questions, further comments? So right now we don't really have a motion. Okay, Steve, yes.
Darcy, could you tell me what the timeline is that we may lose the dog leash, free leash park down at the water treatment plant or the sewage treatment plant?
I mean, I doubt that we would ever really lose that area down there. It may have to be relocated because of an expansion of the wastewater plant, but because it is a wastewater treatment facility, there's an extensive buffer zone that is required down there. So I think we, worst case scenario, what it would probably mean is we could just move it into another location within the buffer area and still be able to have a fenced in area long term. But I think even, the existing
Okay.
space where it is right now, we're good for, I would say, probably the next 3 to 5 years until an expansion happened.
Okay, I thought the rush was because we're going to lose that park.
No, the only reason for it, sorry, Steve, is just because of the fact that we've lost a lot of waterfront area at Memorial Park for, let's call it human activity. And there's a substantial portion of it being dedicated to canine activity. So it's just a matter of, what's the priority down at Memorial Park versus other areas. I know that the PAC has had, 5 meetings worth of discussions on the Memorial Park Master Plan and the need for more waterfront area because of the public expecting and demanding that waterfront use. So, from staff's perspective, that's why we brought forward a report to remove the leash-free area and put it somewhere else, because that kind of coincided with what we thought the theme from the PAC was, which was to really open up that space for public use so that people had access to the waterfront. Now, I know pets are part of families. I mean, I have a dog myself, I certainly get it. But it's really just a matter of what's the priority, because I think that, quite often what happens is that we get ourselves caught in trying to be all things to all people all the time. And I just don't think that that's a reality in every case where we can hit every checkbox every time. So it's simply a matter of what's the greatest priority for that space. And then, to Marissa's point, we have to find potentially another location, but still make sure that it meets most of the needs of the user group at that location.
Safely.
I appreciate all that. Personally, I feel right now we cannot move it to David Johnson's Park. I think it was tried at one time and the sky fell in. I personally would leave it just status quo as is for now. We are going to give more shoreline, won't be beach line, but shoreline to the public. And I think we should just leave the leash-free part of Memorial as is. That's my opinion. As for having it leash-free all winter, and I think the people are shooting themselves in the foot by not cleaning up after themselves. I know whenever I'm walking a dog, I clean up after myself, whether it's free, leash-free or on a leash. So, but my opinion would be just to leave the Memorial Park as is. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Any other questions, comments? And yes, Darcy, good point about, Steve, that we have provided more park space for the general public with our proposal of the reconfiguration of the lower campground. So while it may not necessarily be beach shore right now, who knows what's going to happen with the water level. So, and just a note too, there isn't a formal way of quantifying dog complaints in Memorial Park with like from park staff or anything. So it's more just like there wasn't any tallies or anything.
We deal with complaints and every day. This year could be parking. We don't know because of the paid parking that's being implemented right now. We are actually going to try to keep a tally of some.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Some of our complaints. We would do the best job we could.
Yeah. Okay, and then also with in regards to dog poop, that is, I think, yes, people aren't realizing that we are potentially, it sounds like the proposed idea of losing the off-leash dog area during the winter is a result really of poop not being picked up. And I'd love a way for us to give it another shot and further educating, whether it's more signage or having a really active force of people to, talk about leave no trace, like literally leave no trace on our own, inside our own parks that we cherish and we want to keep. What was the other point? Anyway, so yeah, I really think it would be a shame to lose that aspect during the winter because of that. And that's what I want to note too. I do know that people who don't even have dogs go through the park as they're walking along and will pick up poop. I know people, I do have a dog, but I know that Friends of Memorial Park, the volunteers there actually do go around picking up dog poop as well as they see it. So it'd be great, to work together. And in regards to working together, whether it's at Memorial Park or at Beautiful Joe, I think it's a great opportunity to really collaborate and do better. Now that we know better, we know what we're at risk losing, I think people would be more inclined to do better. Angela.
So yeah, and I think it's also important to recognize that the massive amounts of dog poop in the spring is not just a result of off-leash dogs. People who walk their dogs on leash still don't pick up their poop. It's a dog ownership problem. That being said, probably there is a significant proportion of the poop that is people whose dogs are off leash and they're just not paying enough attention. Definitely. A question for Darcy: if they eliminate the off-season off-leash, will dog owners and residents in general still be allowed to walk the trails in Memorial in the wintertime with their dog on leash, or will it be entirely closed like other parks?
Through the chair, so none of our parks are ever entirely closed. That was the direction of council. They're not formally closed, they're just not maintained. So yes, this is just about off leash. So if you have your dog on a leash, like anywhere in the municipality, any park that we've got, you can have your pet, at any other location right now, as long as it's on a leash. It's just Memorial Park, and this issue is specific to the off leash side of things.
Okay, good point. Yes, Harley.
Thanks, Marissa. A lot of good discussion, and this is a difficult one. Personally, I think we have had the off-leash area at Memorial Park. I'd like to see it continue there, if at least in the name of consistency. I do have some problems with the Beautiful Joe Park idea. I really, of the two, I certainly prefer Memorial Park. David Johnson, you can throw in the mix. What I'm hearing just most recently is that members of the Parks Advisory Committee are very concerned about what is left behind from those good folks who do have dogs. And to me, that's something maybe we should be, as a committee, making a very stern statement about, and getting it out to the public that, hey, look, this, it's great to have a dog or dogs, but with them comes obligations. And it doesn't matter if you're at Memorial Park or on Trout Hollow or the Georgian Trail or where. This is getting to be a serious problem, and we need people to take responsibility. And so it's not just a matter of where. It's a matter of how how the dogs are looked after. Thank you.
Great, good points, Harley. Actually, Barry, I wanted to pick your brains with your background and history with Haibu. Has that been a problem? And if so, how is it addressed? I'm talking about poop. Sorry, you're on mute. I don't know if, oh, there
Okay,
you are.
sorry, it has not been a problem, no more bigger problem than people throwing their Tim Hortons cups or the cigarette smokers throwing their butts everywhere, or the fishermen leaving fish. It's a fact of life. You have a dog that's going to poop, and it's up to the owner to respect that the dog is on a leash, and it's your responsibility to pick that up. So no, it has not been a major problem, and especially in the trails at Haibu. We go around in the spring with either shovels and bury it, or we pitch it off further into the bush where it can just decompose naturally, or if it's right on the trail, we will pick it up. So no, it has not been a great problem. It really hasn't. I'm curious about even why the discussion. Is it because dog owners versus non-dog owners, or is it because we need more public area or more public beach area for, for the campers and of course the ongoing public? So I would agree with both councillors in that we should remain status quo with, maybe if you want to give some consideration of reducing the size of the dog beach area, but I think things would remain as is.
Okay. All good points. Thanks for sharing your insight with Haibu and sharing your position on this item for consideration. Annalee, actually, yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this with your background as well.
I am still trying to evaluate this whole situation. I know it is quite a topic of concern for the community, closing the dog beach at Memorial Park. And I am hearing loud and clear the concerns with relocating to Beautiful Joe, and I totally am in agreement with what I'm hearing. And obviously, it would make sense that, yes, we would want to see water quality results and make sure that the environment is safe for dogs to be entering, no different than people. And at this point, I think I would agree with the comments that I've been hearing so far, where we have allowed for more shoreline access at Memorial Park. In my case, with the idea that maybe the leash-free area would be able to remain there, for the beach purpose at least, and whether it's reduced size temporarily or permanently, but I think that's where I'm sitting at this point. I don't know that David Johnson Park would really work as well. I think I like the off the path location of Memorial Park at this point. And I was just looking at the parks map for any other locations that might really work. But to serve the town of Meaford, the urban area itself, I really think that Memorial Park is the best, okay, most suitable location at this point.
All right, thank you, Annalee. Actually, Barry, I meant to, you'd brought up a question. Did you, were you looking for an answer, or were you just?
I was looking for an answer, yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
How it all started, require, right? More area for the public.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. The concern was access to shoreline, like the beach.
Yes. Mm-hmm, yes.
So, and that, and then it got expanded into the winter seasons because of the poop. So that was the first time I'd heard of that. So there's two parts to this proposed bylaw change and relocation of the off-leash dog area, beach and park. And that was the first time I've heard also of potential relocation of the dog park currently at and beside the water treatment plant. I don't know if that's going to affect decisions later on, but Tom, any thoughts? Oh, I see Margaret. Is there something you'd like to say?
Marissa, I just wondered if at this point I could offer a little bit of procedural guidance. It
Sure.
sounds like there's been a lot of discussion and really great conversation with people weighing in. I would recommend it could be possible to either go one of two ways. It sounds like there was a lot of discussion about maybe deferring the decision to the next meeting, which is in the start of September, which I believe Darcy said would still be sufficient for the timelines. Alternatively, if the committee just didn't want to support the recommendation in the report, of course, that could be the alternative and recommend no change to the current off-leash site at Memorial Park. So I will just leave it at that, but I think sort of at this point, it might be a good time to see if there are any motions that anybody wants to bring forward.
Okay. Yeah, any motion? Thanks, Margaret. And I just want to clarify, I think our next meeting is actually July 7th. Right? In the agenda, it says date of next meeting, July 7th. Sorry, you're on mute.
Looks like that's in my calendar also.
Okay, all right. So as Margaret mentioned, it sounds like there's two motions. So we have to choose one. So either to defer, or it sounds like there's been, a decision with a few of us already. Anyone would like to propose a motion? So the motion is to defer, or it sounds like to keep it as is at Memorial Park. Actually, the third motion is to keep it at Memorial Park, reduce space. So I don't know if that's a third motion or if having it at Memorial Park is sufficient. Anyone like to propose a motion? Steve?
Nobody else wants to offer a motion that we keep it as status quo. And if necessary, we could reduce it a little bit. Marissa, you use it. Could you use a little less space?
I'm willing to reduce it for the sake of people. I am concerned that there's only one entrance, but there's enough of a sight line to visual so dogs can, owners can hold off and let dogs pass before entering in case there's any potential encounter. But it's great. It's great as it's actually, I actually think it's expanded a little bit more to the east just because some trees have been removed, because I know that it used to start a little bit further to the west where that new rock has been situated. So I think it's just shifted a little bit, but I would love it to stay as is. I mean, it's already there. We've spent money to delineate and define the dog beach. Personally, I would love to even add in some fencing so that some of the picnic tables in that underneath the trees are actually an off-leash area too, that people with their dogs can have a picnic at a table. Anyway, that's a little side note. So your motion is to keep it as is.
Correct.
Is that right? Okay, any seconder? Tom, we've got three people, Tom, Barry, and Angela, but I saw Tom first. Any further discussion? So right now is to keep it as is at Memorial Park. Are we adding a little asterisk to potentially reduce it, or as is? As is. Okay, it's to as is at Memorial Park. Motion by Steve, seconded by Tom. Any further discussions? If not, we're ready to vote. So, voting, hands up, please. All hands. So motion passed. We will keep the off-leash dog beach at Memorial Park. This also means that the proposed bylaw has not been approved or will not be recommended by PAC. Is that correct, just to confirm? Okay, thank you. Next item. So items for discussion, which brings to mind, Margaret, if you can speak to the differences between items for consideration and items for discussion. I know you mentioned this is kind of a new thing, so.
Sure. We've been trying to shape the agenda to be a little bit more clear as the committee meetings have evolved in the municipality. So what we're trying to sort of achieve here is items for consideration are, I guess, items specifically that staff are hoping for a clear direction from the committee on. So sometimes we, as you've seen in the past, we might have a staff report with a direct recommendation similar to what we do in council, or we might have some supporting documentation provided by staff, and then sort of the discussion and our input about some options for that motion that could come from the committee. Items for discussion is more of a general, I like to think of it as an FYI, so something that we want the committee to know about, that of course we want discussion, we want conversation about that item and input at this point, either because of the timeline or just because of the nature of the item. But of course, with anything, of course, the committee can bring forward any motions at any time. So if they feel strongly about the issue, or if things have changed since the agenda has been published, for example, or if there's a need, of course, a motion can be brought forward by the committee as well at that in items for discussion. But typically, as I said, I've sort of been going on the more as an FYI in that area, but certainly an FYI for discussion at the committee level because of the nature of the content.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Is everyone crystal clear on that? I see no no's, so great. So our next items for discussion. Oh, first of all, it is 4:30. How is everyone doing with time? Would you like a break? Are you okay to continue? I see thumbs up from pretty much everybody. Okay. Items for discussion: Harbourfront, Waterfront plan update, phase 3 and 4 detailed design. Would everyone like a little summary and overview by staff? And it looks like Darcy. That'd be great.
Thanks, Marissa. This report went to council in April just to approve the award of tender for the RFP. We've been working internally, project team, with the consultant to get this project started. Letters will be going out to various stakeholders and service groups who use the Harbour area, probably next week, I would say, looking for comments as to what they would like to see. So areas 3 and 4 specifically are kind of the green space areas, the areas around the Harbour Pavilion, the cement pad below the pavilion, that kind of whole area, and then of course the parking lot as well. So it's really all the public space amenities at the Harbour. So this doesn't include the Harbour area itself or the docks, the kind of the marina proper, anything like that. It's more the public realm stuff. So we just wanted to let the Parks Advisory Committee know that the process has started. This was a budgeted project for council. The expectation is that we'll have something by the end of the year, with even maybe some preliminary kind of low-hanging fruit projects that we can incorporate into the 2022 budget potentially, to kind of get this going. Because this is all predicated on a 2014 master plan study that was done back then, that really has just sat on the shelf and collected dust for the last half a dozen years, because we just haven't had time or staff resources to move any of it ahead. But we now realize that, I think part of it too might have been a hope that we have a master plan, and that now it's a chicken and egg kind of thing. And we were hoping that the developers might come in and want to do a public-private partnership investment to try and invest on some of the commercial aspects of what was planned. That hasn't happened. So we kind of realized that, maybe what needs to happen is the taxpayer needs to invest first in order to make the area more desirable for that commercial side of thing to potentially happen down the road. So, and even if that doesn't happen and there isn't other development in the area, at least the green space and the public realm amenities can be developed so that, the taxpayer and visitors have better access and use of that space. So the consultant will be coming to the Parks Advisory Committee at the next meeting, just to kind of give a bit of a high level overview, and also to try and garner some feedback from you folks as well. So we just wanted to give you a heads up that the plan is in process and that you will be asked for some input at the next meeting.
Okay, great. Any questions, comments from anybody? So you're just, this is like an, oh, Harley, yes.
Thanks, Marissa. I just wonder, Mr. Willis updated the accessibility committee a few weeks ago about some of the things that are planned to take part down at the Harbour this year concerning parking and kind of reconfiguration of driveways and so on. Rod, could you just remind us again of what we're hoping to get done?
Sure. So for down at the Harbour area, sorry, Harley, I lost you. Down at the Harbour area? Yes. Yes. Okay. Okay. Sure, guys. So our plans this year is obviously we are going to work with the development of the stages, phases 3 and 4. Darcy was nice enough to take this project from me because I'm actually working on an arena project that's similar to the same to this. So Darcy's been leading this one. We're actually looking to do also down there some renovations and some washrooms that is kind of in the same area as this design. What we're trying to do is we are going to make the river washrooms next to the fish cleaning station fully accessible. We could not achieve full accessibility in the Harbour House just due to the simple fact that just the way the facility was built, we couldn't achieve it. So we made the determination that we were going to make these ones fully accessible, and they're actually going to be it's going to be a year-round facility. We are going to heat it, and we're going to maintain it for the entire winter. So there will be new showers, implemented into this building and fully accessible with all new sidewalks around the facility. It's going to be aesthetically, we're going to change the outside of the block. Unfortunately, the split block look is way past its due time. So we are insulating and going to put some new type of siding on the outside of the building. So.
Thanks, Rod. Didn't mean to put you on the spot there, but
that's okay.
I thought those items might be of interest.
Yeah, thank you. So the consultant's coming next meeting anyway with further information and.
That's the expectation, as long as, of course, timing permits. Otherwise, worst case scenario, we'll be reaching out to each of the PAC members with maybe an information package and a kind of a Q&A if for some reason we can't make the date work with the meeting. But one way or another, we will make sure that we get you guys involved in the early consultation before some of the design schematics are put together with different alternatives. We're trying to reach out ahead of time to even understand what people want to see there and what they want to use it for, and then from there,
that'd be great.
The consultant will come up with a couple of different variations that we'll then be able to take to the actual public consultation process.
Oh, awesome. Any further questions or comments, or we can move to the next item? Okay. Next item for discussion. Okay, so public park concerns, and it's regarding smoking and vaping in public parks, as well as barbecue and tent structures. And in the agenda package is the current parks use bylaw. So maybe Darcy, I think, so this came up where someone was interested in perhaps getting ahead of any potential like managing smoking and vaping in near playgrounds, parks, and as well as I know even watching or seeing the news where people are erecting large tents or small tents. Like, should we it might be a good idea to talk about this and see if there's something we can do to prevent and anticipate problems, and how can we prevent these problems. Because I know that, for example, with the tents, it was maybe it was Collingwood, I can't remember right now, where they actually really stipulated, only allow 1 poled tents, for example, and only specific areas of the park where they will permit barbecues. I know it's not a problem right now, or I don't think it is, because it hasn't been brought up. And also with smoking and vaping, I know with buildings, it's a 9 meter away from the main doorway. Is this something we should talk about and address if that's how we feel?
Sure, Marissa. So I think one thing certainly I can just highlight, I could kind of hit the smoking and vaping stuff with the 9 meters, but it's not just from the doorway of a facility either. It's pretty clear in the regulations that it's also, they need to be that far away from playground structures. So, I mean, we also
look there. So I saw in, I was looking in the bylaw, and the only reference was on section 310, or I don't see it.
No, I believe it's the provincial and the health unit side of things. It's not, it's broader than municipal. So that's what I was going to say. I think, that's what governs us. Like the 9 meter rule, even that's the provincial side of things. That's not a municipal bylaw.
Mm-hmm.
So, whether that alone can even be enforced or not, given our resources bylaw, bylaw resources, and the health unit really doesn't have people that can lay fines. But I would hope that, people across the province recognize that that's the standard, so they abide by that kind of 30-foot rule away from facilities and parks and playground equipment and stuff like that. To try and go to no smoking in parks kind of thing, would be virtually impossible for us to try and police that, because again, we just don't have the bylaw resources. So I think that I hate to say it, but at some point in time, the kind of the juice isn't worth the squeeze on something like this, right? And to try and have enough bylaw officers to try and police no smoking in parks would be really tough. I think the best way, if we were to do something, is just to sign around playground equipment and stuff like that. Maybe if we had to try and make it evidently clear to smokers that you need to stay away from playground equipment. With regards to tents and fires and stuff like that, section 8, 9, and 10 of the bylaw speak to campfires, camping and lodging in tents and structures. So our bylaw already says that unless you have a permit, you're not authorized to have a temporary or permanent tent structure. You can't actually dwell or camp at any of the municipal open spaces. Now, this, of course, is aside from Memorial Park itself, where camping is allowed, but in all of our other parks, you're not allowed to have a tent. You can't sleep overnight. You're not supposed to have temporary tent structures on any of our properties. So I hope that things are, the concerns that were brought up by the public or the member of the PAC who asked for this to be added, our bylaw hopefully covers off those things already. Now it just becomes maybe a matter of enforcement, but we do have 2 bylaw officers right now. We got 3 more coming on. 2 of them were just appointed on Monday night by council. So we will have 5 total officers in the summertime. And they're doing fairly regular patrols through all of our parks. So hopefully this isn't a big issue here. I think the Collingwood issue, because I've got a pretty good relationship with their director over there. The issue is that they don't have a parks use bylaw that has any teeth in it like we do. And that's probably why they were having issues with barbecues and hibachis and open fires and tents and all that kind of stuff, because they didn't have anything that prohibited that, whereas we were ahead of the game on all that stuff.
Okay, so people, it says no campfires or build or stoke a fire, bonfire. So barbecues are a part of this?
I think if it's a contained, like if you had like a little tiny tabletop barbecue kind of thing or whatever, then, and you're using it for cooking food, then that's fine. But large fires and whatnot aren't allowed to happen.
I don't think any of us want the risk of a large forest fire either. And also with the tent, so I know that, so there's different descriptions of tents. So you can have a sun tent that helps protect a baby. So does that mean that's not permitted?
I apologize, sir. Could you just?
Oh, sorry. So there's different kinds of tents. So not just the sleeping tent, but it could be an open 10 by 10 or, you know, with all sides open. Or I've seen some regulations where it says to keep, I don't know, maximum 3 walls. But there's also little tents where it's really just a shade or sun tent so that the mother can breastfeed or the baby can play where it's given some shade. So I know that we can't police, or it's a challenge to police with our limited resources as well. So it's really all about if someone's going to call in and complain and then that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think, you know, a bylaw officer is going to use some judgment probably in this. If it's, you know, a 4 foot by 3 foot tent structure to try and protect a 1-year-old from the sun, you know what I mean? They're probably not going to care. But, you know, if you have 2 or 3 of those 10 by 10 tents, you know, those shade structures that are set up side by side, and, you know, 3 or 4 picnic tables all folded underneath them and everything, like, that's where there's probably going to be issues, and bylaws are going to step in because those things aren't actually permitted. And, you know, again, our bylaw officers always have the ability to use judgment if it's needed and provide warnings or,
Okay.
you know, be satisfied with something that's happening if it's not causing any concern or any harm. But at least the bylaw is there to give the teeth necessary if things do get out of control.
Okay. Angela.
Yeah, question for Darcy or Rod. Is there already signage up at the parks that have playgrounds stating that you can't smoke within a certain distance of the playground? Because as a parent, it is something that I occasionally deal with when I'm at the playground. There'll be parents sort of sitting around smoking as our kids are playing.
I don't believe that there is, but Rod, I mean, I guess things don't really shock me. And if we need to put some signage up, then maybe this is a great example of that. I mean, and certainly hearing from another parent who uses, you know, some of the playground equipment around the municipality, if it simply means us having to throw up a few signs here and there that talks about, you know, keeping your smoking at a distance, then I'm sure that that's something that we can, you know, get together over the next few weeks and get installed at a couple prime locations at least.
I think that would be quite appreciated.
I don't think we have signs, do we, Rod?
Well, there was actually signs for all the facilities. This was part of the health unit initiative, and they actually supplied us with all the signage. So a majority of the facilities have got this signage, which if there's a facility within the park, then there will be some type of sign up.
Okay, check. Okay, yes, Harley.
Thank you. Through you to Marissa, to Darcy. Darcy, is the Ontario legislation not no smoking within 20 meters of a playground area?
Yes, that's what I was trying to say to Marissa when she first asked, that the legislation, it's the provincial side of things. So, but I mean, even though it's not something that we, you know, really police, because it's not our legislation, I'm sure that we can look into it, and Rod's team can get a couple signs made up and put around some of our playground equipment, just so that it becomes apparent to, you know, certainly not the kids, but the parents of the children, that, you know, if you know, you need to indulge, that you at least do it at a safe distance away from the playground equipment.
I think it's actually both smoking and vaping, 20 meters.
Yes.
And interestingly enough, in our dog off leash bylaw, section 310, it says there is no smoking allowed in a dog off leash area.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anybody else saw that or not.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up.
I thought that was interesting. Okay, thank you.
Speaking of which, segue. So I know for a fact people smoke in the off-leash dog park by the water treatment plant. Just saying. But obviously I haven't called it in. Yes, Angela.
We've had a customer whose dog has ingested cigarette butts at the dog off-leash dog park area, and we actually don't use it because there often is a number of cigarette butts at the off-leash dog park, the fenced-in one by the water treatment plant. So there may be something for bylaw to consider.
Yeah, maybe more signage.
Yeah, this is a great point again. Like, I'm almost positive that there isn't a no smoking sign
Okay.
as part of the signage down at the off-leash park. So that's another location that Rod can look at, making sure that we make it visible right at the entrance that you're not supposed to be smoking inside of that facility.
Okay.
And if it's already in the bylaws, then that makes it that much easier to impose.
Okay, great. And actually, I just wanted to bring up a point. Harley, you kept mentioning 20 meters in the legislation, and Darcy, you're mentioning 9 meters. Which one is it? I'm more familiar with the 9, but maybe it's changed to 20. I'm not sure. Or did you mean to say 20?
I think it might be both.
Oh,
so it's
okay.
It's 9 meters from the opening, like a door to a facility.
Right.
But it's 20 meters from a playground structure.
Okay.
Right. So the intention of the province was actually to try and make it that much safer for kids around in those open areas, to make sure that people stayed far, far away.
Great.
I'm just referring to Mr. Google, to what he said. So hopefully that is
the all-knowing. Okay. Actually, Annalee or Barry, did you want to chime in with your parks background? In terms of any signage or anything? Okay, we're good. So right now, I guess it sounds like we'll put up some signage in terms of the proper legislation with distancing from playgrounds and dog parks. And right now, due to limited resources, the barbecue and tent structures have been defined, and bylaw officers will use fair judgment. Sounds good? Okay. Next item on the agenda. Oh, it's the correspondence list, and I'm sure everyone has seen the email. And for the benefit of people watching and listening, I just wanted to quickly read this letter. This is from Corinne Moore, and it says, I'll just get to the point here. It says, I applaud the committee on the decision they made with respect to more green space in the lower campground while still balancing the needs of campers. It's a win-win for everyone. Thank you to everyone on the committee for all the time and effort put into preserving the continued use and enjoyment of Memorial Park for the community. So kudos to everyone here, as well as to all the presenters and people who participated either during our PAC meeting or reached out to all of us individually. So, and just for a note for also people listening, these are emails that are sent in to the email address for the Parks Committee, and anyone can do that. And then we all get copies of it. So we really appreciate hearing kudos, raves, rants, any feedback as well. So on that note, is there anything else to talk about? Any last minute thoughts, comments, concerns? And just to note, our next meeting is July 7th. And on that note, I call the meeting adjourned. Thank you so much. Thank you, Rod. Thank you, Darcy, Margaret, Hannah, and Derek.
Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Thank you.